I never felt like the Giants organization was at a point where they were going to still, the idea of marrying Schoen and Daboll and getting them both out. I think that's the right thing to do, but I never felt like that was where they were at. And then you see the report in the Post yesterday. You wake up to the headline this morning, split ticket, not so fast. Paul Schwartz writing about it, the idea that maybe, in fact, the Giants would keep one and not the other, which would mean they would probably keep Joe Schoen and not Brian Daboll, which to me would just be an epic disaster and failure any which way you slice it.
I don't know how they don't see it the way we see it. I don't know that every team always has to see what we see, but this one to me is pretty clear. And if that's the case, if they don't see it the way you and I both see it here, that's a problem because neither individual has distinguished themselves enough over the other to be elevated over the other. I mean, if it's a split ticket, which means, one's coming, possibly one stays, one goes, well, if Brian Daboll stays and Schoen goes, what the hell's Daboll done to distinguish himself enough to get some separation from Joe Schoen? And the same thing with Joe Schoen. I mean, if you're going to get rid of Daboll, you're basically saying, well, Shane's done a really good job, so we're going to keep him. He's done a better job than Daboll. And I don't think that that's the case. I mean, what are they, 2-14 against Philly and Dallas? Look at their record in the NFC East. Look at the stats defensively. Look at the empty seats. Look at the apathy. Are you kidding me? Split ticket.
Yeah, if anything, I would make the case for, and I've been saying this for a while, but even more so now, I would make the case that Brian Daboll is better at his job than Joe Schoen is at his. And if I had to pick one, if they said, gun to your head, Sal, you have to pick one of these two guys to stay and turn the Giants around moving forward, I would pick Brian Daboll. And I don't even think it's particularly close. Not only the record and resume that he has as a coach and who he's coached under and all those different things, talking about not as a head coach, obviously, but as a coach throughout the course of his career as a coordinator, but also the fact that he wanted to go get Jackson Dart and the way that he's worked with Jackson Dart so far. That, to me, is the most tangible thing out of the tandem in the 4 years is what Daboll has done with Dart, selecting Dart and then working with him the way that he has. I mean, there were reports saying that Daboll wanted to take Dart at number 3 overall. So the fact that they were able to trade up and get his guy later in the draft and the fact that it's worked and looked the way that it has, if anything, if I were having to split them up, I would keep Brian Daboll. Now, I would fire both. I think they could do better, the Giants can. But the idea that you would split them up, like that's worse than the worst case scenario of thinking, well, you're going to have a quarterback that was picked by a different regime with a new regime. That's bad scenario. Even worse than that to me would be keeping Joe Schoen in place and firing Brian Daboll.
Remember the conversations around Joe Douglas? Well, he drafted this guy and he drafted that guy. And look what he did here. And he got this guy and he got that. Look at the roster. Well, when there's no wins and there's no sustained success, I just don't want to hear it anymore. I mean, I could ride that wave for a year, maybe 2, but you've got to show me something tangibly here. I just don't see it. I don't know. I'd love to know, and I don't question the report at all. I think Paul's been doing this for a long time. I think he's good. I think he's well sourced. But like the basis for that report today, to me, I don't understand it at all. It's like Sunday was such a painful reinforcement where the franchise is. And to see a story a day or two later that somebody might be viewed more favorably than the other, I think it really is the height of ludicrous. I don't get it.
Well, and how about the fact that if they did, it would be Joe Schoen? Like, I don't understand that argument. How do you make the argument for Joe Schoen and not Brian Daboll?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. But I'm not going to make the argument for Daboll either. The thing about this, and this is why it's crazy, too, because as bad as it seems, and it's bad, the one thing that I said yesterday, and there are a few silver linings here. I mean, listen, you look at the Chargers' job. If Herbert's not the quarterback, right, Jim Harbaugh's not going there. So I do think that this is going to be a very appealing job if they clean house. I truly do. Now, because of Jackson Dart. One thing that we talked about yesterday, it's an interesting, and you brought this up, and it's an interesting way to look at it. Like, we've got the trade deadline today at 4, right? There's some pieces around the league that can absolutely help teams that are contenders or on the cusp of being a contender that if the Giants part with, they could get some real draft capital that can really accelerate their rebuild, which would also be now appealing to, I think, a proven general manager. The problem is, and I agree with you on this, if you start wheeling and dealing today, now you're taking away or you're running the risk of Joe Schoen trying to save his behind and doing things that could sacrifice things down the future or down the road. So they're in a very, very odd space. All I know is there's one thing that I believe in. That's the quarterback. I don't believe in Daboll. I don't believe in Schoen. I don't even believe in ownership at this point to do the right thing. So this report to me is not a good thing. Like, I don't wake up if I'm a Giants fan and say, all right, yeah, there's a moment of clarity. Giants seem like they know what they're doing. To me, this offers more confusion because I don't think either man should be back, with all due respect.
Which is also why I think that, while I'm not an advocate of just saying, well, fire everybody now, I think that they need to make some moves now. Like, I would not. I told you yesterday I put a freeze on Joe Schoen. And today might be telling. If the Giants do make a move, whether it's adding somebody for Jackson Dart, which a couple of weeks ago I was all for, regardless of their record, I do think it would benefit Jackson Dart just having another weapon here. And if you're going to get a wide receiver, you could get him under control for next year, whatever, depending on what the options are. But I would not want Joe Schoen making that decision because I want to fire Joe Schoen. So how could, if ownership is thinking about moving on from these guys, why would you ever let them make a decision? And if they do make a trade or two or whatever happens here ahead of the deadline today, then maybe that's telling that they do want to keep Joe Schoen. The reports were last year that they favored Joe Schoen. I mean, they were coming out and basically saying we like the draft. I don't know what they need to, like, what they're seeing that they like the draft. Maybe it's that all 22. Oh, yeah, they're watching the film and they're breaking it down and they like what they see. Wow. Because it can't be the results, BT, because the results aren't there. So, but they were, for whatever odd reason, they, as the Giants organization, seem to be more in the camp of Schoen than Daboll, where I would be the exact opposite. But the idea that you would keep either of them at this point is comical. And why would you, like, that's why I would just move on, not let Schoen do anything, move on from him eventually. I don't know who's going to take over in the interim, but I would also move on from Daboll and just leave no more questions to be asked. Let Kafka handle the offensive, decisions moving forward with Dart, and then bring in new people next year.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, the quicker that you do this, the better jump start you get on the off season, right, which is obviously really good. But think about, it's advantageous if you hire the right person. You can still get a 3-month head start and not do the right thing. So, I mean, it's just, here we are. I can't. I really, Sal, I can't. We're sitting here. I got to just say this again. They're 2-14 against Philly and Dallas. The measuring stick of pride, the measuring stick of divisional supremacy, which they haven't sniffed in a while. And we are having a conversation that one of these men might be back. I really just don't get it. I'm obviously not supporting it. I don't agree with it. If that's what they think, then that's what they think. But if I ran the show here, there's no way in hell I'm bringing these men back. I'm just not.
BT Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Dom is calling from Edgewater, starting us off. What's up, Tom?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
What's up, Dom?
Very good, thank you. I listened to what you guys said, and first of all, thank you for allowing me to start your show off. That's really cool. Listen, with Daboll and Dart, I know what you guys are saying. You don't want to get rid of both of them, but I just look at the NFL, and I look at the quarterbacks and the coaches in this league, and you could obviously tell that Daboll wanted Dart from the start in the draft, and you could honestly see how Dart has improved over time and how the team offensively looks better under Jackson Dart than Russell Wilson. Having said that, here's the changes I would make moving forward. Okay, I would actually keep Daboll, because the problem is if you fire Daboll, then, which coach are you going to be able to fit in with Jackson Dart's style? That's the only complaint. That was the only complaint I would have.
Now, hold on a second there, Dom. The style to me is very appealing because I think he's a multi-style quarterback. I think that's more applicable if you've got somebody that's like a one-way ticket that is all throw and no run, or all run and no throw. He can do both. So I think any real offensive philosophy fits his skill set. I think it's easier.
Okay, well, maybe that's the case. But I'm just saying, if Daboll wanted Dart that much and Daboll liked Jackson Dart that much and had developed a relationship, wouldn't you want to keep the coach that has a quarterback with a good relationship rather than, start all over again? Granted, I get it, you made all the points.
If you had to keep one or the other, yes. If you had to keep Schoen or Daboll, then yes, I'm agreeing with you, Dom, that I would keep Daboll. But you don't have to. And both have been bad. So while he selected Dart and it seems to be developing him and the offense is better, I actually want, me personally, I would value a head coach, get this, wait for it, that wins football games. Like, that's what I care about. You mentioned Harbaugh before, BT, going to the Chargers just because of Herbert. Wherever Harbaugh would have went, he would have won football games. Some jobs are more appealing than others because they have better pieces in place. Harbaugh's a winning coach. Sean Payton, same thing. He went to a spot that had Russell Wilson that was a disaster. He cleaned that disaster up, found his quarterback that nobody else liked, went to the playoffs a year ago. Right now he's got the best team in the NFL, arguably, going to be in the playoffs again. So good coaches can turn things around. So that's why, Dom, when you say keep Daboll, I would answer, why? He just continues to lose.
Yeah, but also keep in mind that the NFL didn't also up the Giants out either with the schedule that they gave, and it was
Oh, my God. Dom,
what about last year?
Buddy.
Thanks for the call, Dom.
The schedule, the schedule's out years in advance, so they didn't help the Giants out because of the schedule.
Dom, come on.
Wow, Dom, all right.
How was that schedule week 2 when you had the Cowboys beat? How was it when you lost to the Saints? The Saints have one win on the season. Was that a tough game? The schedule. New Orleans. How about Denver, which actually is a very difficult matchup? You had a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter. Like, the schedule is not an excuse for why the Giants are where they are.
No, not for any team. Listen, I think that it's being positioned that Jackson Dart is incredibly fragile. Like, there's no way he can have success the rest of his career if they take the training wheels known as Brian Daboll away from him. And I think that's absolutely ludicrous. I really do. I think he was coached by Lane Kiffin in Ole Miss, who it's a pro offense. Like, this young man walked in here and the first week he basically distinguished himself, and that's why a lot of people said, well, maybe he should play early. Like, you knew right away that Jackson Dart had a skill set. We didn't know when he'd play, but that conversation began because he showed signs of being the guy. So I think he's far more resilient, far more talented, and far more adaptable than some people. Not everybody, but then some people are making it out to be.
But then why would you have Kiffin be the first choice? Because a lot of the thought process with Kiffin is, he coached him at Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's funny. I threw that out a while ago. You start to see that a little bit more. I'm not saying he's the first choice for me. I'm definitely not saying he's the first choice. I mean, the Raiders thing was a disaster, but it was also a long time ago, and I do believe he's matured. What I would like to do is I would at least like to have the opportunity. Now, I don't even know who this person is yet. And this kind of ties into the trade deadline. If the Giants, but also maybe you shouldn't let him trade because you don't know if Shane's going to be here. So it's one convoluted, twisted mess. But the more draft assets the Giants, if they could accrue some serious stuff today, you can make a massive swing and trade for somebody that right now doesn't seem very plausible.
You're talking about a head coach.
Yes, that we're not even thinking about. You see, you can't do that when you need a quarterback because you've got to devote those resources to either move up the draft board or whatever it takes to get the quarterback. When you've got the quarterback, you can be bold in trying to get the head coach.
And they've got to be thinking the stars, the moon, all
Grand Slam, they got to be thinking because they got the quarterback.
Even me, I'm saying that to myself because I'm like, I like Flores, and I do like Flores. I don't know if this is the best spot.
Yeah, I know.
That.
I don't know about that either. I like them too.
They've got to be thinking time to rip up the carpets and the undercarriage.
Let's go
and let's get this whole thing for
get a star in here for this kid.
Sports Talk on the Fan is presented by Paramount Plus, streaming November 16th on Paramount Plus. It's the return of Landman from Taylor Sheridan, co-creator of Yellowstone. Academy Award winner Billy Bob Thornton is back, featuring Academy Award nominees Demi Moore, Andy Garcia, and Sam Elliott. Landman, new season streaming November 16th, only on Paramount Plus. Ari is calling from West Orange. What's up, Ari?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks so much for taking the call.
You got it, buddy. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Look, anyone who thinks Daboll should stay here for Dart, I'm sorry. That is absolute insanity. Daboll, Giants fans got to wake up. Brian Daboll has won 11 games since the back end of that ludicrous 2022 season, which frankly set this organization back a couple of years. I'm 50-50 on Shane. I sort of be okay if you want to keep him, but I hear what you're saying. The draft picks and the things. I don't know. I'm not sure if you can trust him for another year, and that's fine. Daboll, 100% though, is gone. Like I said, the time for Dart is ridiculous. And guys, just what I think you guys are hitting on it. What this organization needs with the head coach, with the GM, first and foremost, it's just a culture reset. You look at what's going on since Tom Coughlin was the head coach. Every coach they have hired has been an absolute disaster. And I'll just use the Lions as a comparison real quick. Dan Campbell comes in year one, they go 1-15. But you could tell there was a change in culture happening, even though they were bad that year. And now, obviously,
that's it. But Ari, hold on a second. Hold on. It's easy to say that now.
That's what the Giants need.
Hold on, Ari.
Without a doubt. Somebody like that.
It's easy to say that now about the Lions situation. I can promise you.
True.
in real time, if you're doing this in Detroit, I don't know that it was quite as identifiable. So I have to mitigate risk with the next hire. And there's a lot of people.
Campbell, right. Campbell may not have been a good example, but I just really feel the Giants need a culture changer. That's what I really think they need. These guys, again, know nothing but losing. Losing breeds losing. Daboll is a loser. They will continue to lose with him as head coach. And the Giants need to bring in a winner. I don't know who it is. You want to argue Flores, something like that. Whoever it is, it's got to be a winner.
But why are you 50-50 on Schoen, though? That's my issue. Why are you 50-50 on Schoen?
That's a good question. I'm trying to answer that in my head, too.
Okay.
You're right, because the draft picks have been, a lot of them, an absolute bust. And it just might be a matter of they may not have choice but to clean house.
Right.
But the other thing is the ownership guys. With John Mara, unfortunately, with his health, and we all pray that he's going to be healthy and be better. But that worries me too. How healthy is he, and is he seeing things the right way because of the health? So there's just so much in flux right now, and it's really just a really not a great place to be in as a Giants fan at this point in time.
It's not. But imagine not having a quarterback. I mean, so that's the worst place to be. So at least that's the saving grace. And the thing about Mr. Mara, and we're all rooting for him, and we hope he's going to be okay, and we expect that. I mean, I shouldn't say we all hope. I don't know. We just pray, right? I would say this, that the process of hiring somebody is very daunting, and it takes a lot of time. And I don't know where he is, how he feels medically. And if that's the case, I don't know.
I've got to put the health aside. I have no idea. I mean, obviously, I read the report. We know what was going on, and our best wishes with them and prayers and all that stuff. But they got to make a football decision here. We're talking about running the team. So, yes, health is a priority, but that's a separate show on a different station. Like, if we're going to get into that stuff, then why even, the Giants' win-loss record and who they hire is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things if you're talking about the health of Mr. Mara. So I'm going to choose to separate that and just say whoever is making these decisions needs to make the right decision for once and for all, especially that they got the quarterback here. And that decision, to me, cannot include splitting up Schoen and Daboll. Based on what those two have done together, they both have earned losing their jobs. I hate to say that, but they both deserve to go. And if you're going to keep one, I could at least put some more eggs in the basket of Daboll than I could Joe Schoen. I don't know what Joe Schoen has done here that anybody would say, well, we've got to bring Joe Schoen back.
I don't know how he stands out either as the one, that could be brought back. I just don't get that at all. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I haven't seen it at all here with Joe Schoen. But I think that the thing that's a little worrisome to me is that if they're still evaluating this, and it appears like they are,
correct,
then you very well might get a little Hail Mary with a couple of wins at the end of the season, which you and I have talked about, where the schedule does get a little bit softer here. And that could be fool's gold because, you could beat the Raiders and I forget who else, maybe the Commanders, without Jaden Daniels, whatever.
Vikings on it.
Yeah, the Vikings. You win a game or two or maybe even three, I think it sets up a false sense of accomplishment, which I don't think is good for the overall health or really reflective of where they are as a team, quite frankly.
Sometimes the worst thing about the decisions is the indecision. Just make a decision. And that's why I'd like to see them be definitive now and get ahead of it and say, we've seen enough to know Daboll ain't it. It's never a pleasant conversation.
I hate him.
It's not a good thing.
It's not fun.
But you how could, if we all could make our definitive decision and we give them credit for being patient, because a lot of us, you and I included, would have done this a year ago and had a new regime select the new quarterback with the top pick in the draft or wherever they wanted to take one. They didn't. They gave them extra year on top of it. Let them go at it. They're 2-7. And by the way, look at what the Cardinals, how come the Cardinals can beat the Cowboys, but the Giants can't? It happens in the NFL. The Giants have just been losers. That's it. End of story. This regime has had too much losing. So be decisive about it now. You don't need to see what's going to happen in the final 8 weeks. Just say definitively, as tough as it may be, those are the tough decisions. You got to make them. Get rid of them. Move on. Do it now, and then have a fresh start in the offseason. BT and Sal,